Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Co-op Podcast, episode 160. I'm your host, Richard Bailey Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary A. Swaby. What's up, Gary?
Hey, what's up? Gary Swaby here. I'm excited because tomorrow I'm going to see Civil War finally. So, I'm excited about that. But for now, I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you guys about some video games. So let's get to it.
That sounds good. And we are also joined by Mr. Jakejames Lugo. How's it going, Mr. Lugo?
I'm good, but I gotta wait about another week or so to go see Civil War. I'm hyped. So Gary, right about now, you're on my strangle list because you get to see the movie early.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree as well, because, I have to wait. So, not happy to hear that, so I definitely don't
Thursday.
want to hear. Yeah,
It
oh,
comes out
Thursday for you.
Thursday here in the United States, so we gotta wait about another week. So give or take.
All right, hey, that's fine with me.
well,
It'll
I,
be here before we know it.
I promise not to say nothing about it.
You spoil it, Gary, I'll kill you. I swear to God. I'm
Whoa,
hyped.
whoa, whoa.
I'm super hyped for this movie. Do not spoil this for me. I'm begging you, Gary.
Well, after seeing those nunchuck skills, I'm definitely not messing with you, B.
Okay. All right. Yeah, these guys. Um, but yeah, no cameras this week because there's quite a bit of stuff. I'm working on something else in the background, and I believe Gary is as well. So, unfortunately, you will not get to see us this week, but you will see us again possibly next week. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, before we get into the topics for today's show, obviously want to talk about what we have been playing. So, how about you go first, Mr. Lugo, and let us know what you've been playing?
So I've been playing a couple different things. One thing I was playing that we have a review now up on the site now. You guys can check it out on thecoalition.com. Is Rocket Birds 2 Evolution for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. Review is up on the site now. I gave it around a 70-ish score because I felt like that was the score that the game deserved to win. It's still a good game. Definitely good with local co-op. Terrible with online co-op. Interesting game nonetheless. Also, very soon I'm going to be posting up my review of Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. Nintendo sent me over the games to review for the site and stuff, and I've been playing it for quite a while. It's just that, with PAX East and everything happening over the last weekend and stuff, things kind of got thrown a little bit off schedule, because Nintendo sends the games at the worst time and stuff, but still, expect that review from me going up very, very soon on the website. But other than that, that's what I've been playing for the most part, other than a couple stuff at some events, which I'll talk about later.
Oh yeah, sounds good. How about you, Gary? What have you been playing?
This week I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter 5 actually. And because I found my character and I've kind of like I'm not gonna say perfected because I wouldn't call myself great at the game or anything. I'm sure like if I go up against someone like JJ or Michael A or whoever, like I'll get my ass kicked. And Ramiz and Carl from the coalition, they kicked my ass a bit last time I played them too. But I've gotten fairly comfortable with that character, the character Karen. So I'm quite enjoying the game. I've been playing a lot of ranked matches and sometimes just casual matches and doing survival and stuff. So yeah, even though there's not much in terms of single player you can do in the game, I'm still just kind of enjoying playing that game and trying to master a character, I guess. And also, I played a bit of Division, but not too much, because I had quite a busy week. And I also managed to fit in some Assassin's Creed Unity, because that's like the only main Assassin's Creed game that I didn't actually finish, like that I didn't actually beat the end, like the actual end of the game. So I'm just replaying that at the moment because I want to be able to say again that I've beaten all the main Final Fantasy games. So just going back to that at the moment. And that's about it. That's all I've been playing. I'm about to start Ratchet and Clank soon though, because I got that too. So
Oh
looking
yeah,
forward
that's
to
the
that.
game. I heard quite a lot of people talking about that game. That is the next game that I will be buying, but I don't know if I'll be playing it, but we'll see about that.
I saw the movie the other night. of Ratchet and Clank, and it wasn't that great, to be honest with you. The game is
Oh,
much better from what I hear.
oh yeah, yeah, I've heard some pretty bad things about the movie also, so I believe that. Oh well, that's all right. The game definitely though, I will be checking that out because yeah, nothing but positive things I've seen and also heard. So, um, as for what I've been playing, a few of the usual suspects. I have been still playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Um, Again, actually right before we started recording, I just got into the Winston Churchill missions, and yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the game. I like how it jumps around with the different time sequences, especially with this latest one. So taking my time to complete it. I believe I'm right now on sequence 6, so I'm almost complete. But yeah, the game is massive. Uh, Also takes up a ton of space on my hard drive, so that's another reason why I want to complete it, so I can get it off the hard drive and get ready for Uncharted 4. So definitely that's what my plan is for the next week and a half, to play that until the game everybody wants drops. But so far, great game. I've also went back to Destiny last night. Um, Got a chance to play a few matchups with a very good friend. Um, and hey, game is still great. I got played a few online matches. I started out horrible, getting destroyed, but by the end of the third matchup, oh, I was kicking everybody's ass. So I enjoyed that. That was fun. Um, but yeah, Destiny, Assassin's Creed. As for the newer stuff, I finished The Walking Dead Michonne. I'm actually working on a review of the complete series. One thing I will say right now is, I wasn't a fan of the first episode because of, again, it takes time to build up and for these other characters to be established. Not so much Michonne, but everybody else that plays a role in the actual story. Second episode was significantly better, a lot more action oriented. But this third one, it kind of hit home with a few of the messages that they wanted to get across. I did not like the final choice I had to make. That was just a very surprising choice because I mean it's it really is a life or death situation, and you got to make a choice. So that is pretty much the backbone of the Walking Dead games. I understand they have to have this fine line that they walk, but overall, I will say it was a pretty good. Um, I would say pretty good, pretty decent series. I have no idea what's going to happen in season 3, although I did hear that Robert Kirkman had an interview this past week, and he said that in season 3 we will be checking in on Clementine, which a lot of people have then suggested that Clementine will not be the star of season 3. So I don't know how that's going to necessarily go over with fans because, I mean, they really like that character a lot. Um, Michonne, I could see her being in season 3, but again, I'm not sure how all of this is going to come together. All I do know is that season 3 starts later this year, so I guess we'll find out pretty much how it's all connected.
I personally think it's a good thing if Clementine isn't the main character again, because like in the second season, I mean it was cool, playing as Clementine and everything, but I kind of felt like she was outshined by all the other characters. Like all the other characters were a lot more interesting, like some of the villains and stuff you come across, and then you had what's his name? I can't remember his name. I think it's Kenny or something.
Yeah.
From yeah, like his the growth of his character was interesting to see as well. And I just feel like Clementine wasn't that interesting, like as a protagonist, and she was kind of just witnessing what was going on around her, and she didn't really have much of her own personality. So I feel like it's a good time to get a completely new, fresh protagonist anyway. So I'm fine with if they if it's a completely new character and we're just looking on at where Clementine is now, basically.
Well, hey, that's a good point. You never know if if they do take that approach. I don't think it's a bad thing either. I'm just interested to see how they're going to connect this together. Because again, after you play a game like The Walking Dead Michonne, I could see that they may want to have a lot more action-oriented sequences, and therefore they probably would have Michonne as a major star for that because, yeah, she's just slicing and dicing zombies throughout the whole game and killing people too. So, yeah, it's pretty, pretty graphic. But we'll see. I mean, again, we'll find out more about that later this year. I'm not sure when the release date is. I would assume possibly this fall, though, to coincide with the next season of The Walking Dead. So we'll see how that goes. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing this week. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the topics. Right off the bat, I want to give the floor to Mr. Jakejames Lugo because, of course, you had a chance to attend PAX East 2016 as well as a Namco Bandai event. So please do feel free to tell us more information about these events.
Sure. I mean, let me start off with the Bandai Namco event because that was the first one I went to. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been going to two major events. The Bandai Namco event was an open house that they had at Bandai Namco's North American headquarters. They opened up a brand new headquarters where they develop their games and they do all their stuff over there. That they decided to have a bunch of the press, the media, go visit and not only check out what their new offices and stuff, but also check out an assortment of games that are going to be coming out throughout the entirety of this year. So on the website now and also on the YouTube channel, we have a preview and exclusive interviews for both Tekken 7 Fated Retribution, which you can find right now, as well as also Sword Art Online Hollow Realization. We have exclusive gameplay that we got there, off-screen gameplay of like some of the stuff that, you're going to be doing both in Tekken 7 as well as Sword Art Online. But also I got a chance to talk to some of the PR there about the games. And they let me know about some of the new additions, some of the new things that fans are going to get excited for, especially if you're a fan of Tekken and you're looking forward to the crossover that they have with Akuma showing up in Tekken 7. But also for SAO fans, fans of Sword Art Online that have been playing both Rehollow Fragment and Lost Song on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita. So that game series is like totally changing up. But besides that, I also had a chance to play a couple other games, including One Piece Burning Blood, which we're going to be having another interview go up this week, or this coming week, I should say, and with some gameplay, which is going to be pretty fun. But also, besides that, I also got a chance to check out JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Eyes of Heaven, which is, again, another JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game that isn't a fighting game per se. It's a little bit much more of an action game or a third-person action game. Pretty interesting. Has a lot of the characters that you know and love from the manga and the anime, but it goes off in like a crazy story, which, again, I'm not too familiar with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I know it's like an over-the-top, off-the-wall type of like crazy aesthetic and crazy type of like, tale and story that you get to experience, kind of consisting over a variety of different characters and such. But that was pretty cool. Again, One Piece Burning Blood was pretty cool as well. It's very similar to Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, but it has its own little flair to it, involving the One Piece characters, some destructibility in the environments, as well as also, I think it was about 47 characters that they're going to have at launch when the game comes out eventually later this year. I also got a chance to play Necropolis, which is, again, it's on PC. It's kind of like a mixture of Dark Souls and a little bit of Rogue Legacy, where you have like a procedurally generated dungeon that you could constantly explore and kind of like look for loot, fight really tough enemies and stuff. It even has 4-player co-op, which I thought was pretty cool, pretty interesting. I also got a chance to play the new God Eater games, both God Eater Resurrection and then God Eater 2 Burst. Now, God Eater Resurrection is kind of like a remake or a re-release of the original God Eater game that was back in Japan and it came here to the States on PSP, but it's going to be on the PlayStation 4 now. God Eater 2 Burst, again, is a continuation, it's a sequel to that, but it has all new elements and all new like monsters and stuff that you're going to be fighting. Very cool. Both games are already out in Japan for quite some time, but now they're getting localized here in the United States, and those games are pretty interesting. Also, I have to mention, Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme Versus for the PlayStation Vita. Vita exclusive, was out in Japan for quite some time, but again, it's getting localized here for the United States. If you're a big Gundam fan, if you like mecha anime, and you follow the Gundam series of like, animes and novels and all this stuff, there's a lot of different nods to various series from throughout the Gundam universe, including Gundam Unicorn, Gundam C Destiny, Gundam Wing, Mobile Suit Gundam, G Gundam. The list goes on. So if you're a big sci-fi anime fan, you're going to love that one. Granted, to me, I had a couple issues here and there, but again, it was kind of like in an early state or whatnot, at least, with the localization. But it was still a neat concept. I still need to get my hands on that game to kind of really get into the nitty-gritty of like what that game is really about. Now, that was everything that I saw pretty much, or even before I end that off, I should say, Tekken 7, because Tekken 7 was a big deal. We got a chance to play Tekken 7 on an arcade cabinet in, Bandai Namco's offices. They weren't talking about any sort of release date or release window for the console version. We all know it's coming to the PlayStation 4 and the consoles and stuff, but they didn't give us any sort of release date or release window. They just let us play with the game on the arcade cabinet. Harada was there, which was cool. He was walking around in like a Pac-Man business suit, which I thought was amazing. It was like the most freshest suit I've seen in quite a while. I thought it was pretty funny, and he looked good with it. But Tekken 7 is really, really good. The game is shaping up to be very nice. Again, it's an updated version to the original Tekken 7, but this one's called Fated Retribution, which has Akuma as a playable character. Now, the neat thing is, Akuma actually plays very similar to how he does in the Street Fighter games, only now this is an interpretation in the Tekken engine. So it's not like a completely seamless kind of integration or copy over from the Street Fighter games. However, using like the Tekken kind of like, the button layout and the way that, Tekken characters move in the 3D space and stuff, you're still able to do all his like unique special moves from the Street Fighter games, including the Hadoken, including the Raging Demon, which they have these kind of like, rage burst attacks that are very similar to supers, that once your health gets down to a certain amount, or once you are fighting for a certain amount of time, you're able to do like these super moves that do ridiculous amounts of damage. And for Akuma, he happens to use the Raging Demon, like we all know and love if you're a fan of Street Fighter, and it looks amazing in Tekken 7 Fated Retribution. Looks very awesome. They didn't get into any story elements or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure as time goes on, hopefully by E3, if not afterwards, we'll know more about Tekken 7 Fated Retribution's story and how Akuma actually plays into the narrative that's going on with Tekken 7. But that's just the Bandai Namco event. Any comments from you guys? Because I want to get any sort of impressions based on what you heard before I get into PAX East.
Gary, you have any comments?
No, you laid it out pretty much. I don't really have much to comment on. But that does sound like you had a great time checking out all those games.
Yeah, I just want to say, I thought excellent interviews, and I'm looking forward to Tekken 7. I will hope that we will get a release date at E3, but we'll see about that. But I'm very interested in quite a bit of the things that you discussed as far as the game, so definitely we'll check them out.
Now, one thing I should say, there's more stuff coming very soon that I saw and I talked about when I was out there that I can't talk about right now because they kind of changed the embargo date on us, midway, like right before PAX East, which was kind of funny. But very, very soon, hopefully, I think it's in the next couple weeks, you guys will hear some more news about Tekken 7 Fated Retribution specifically, as well as also some other stuff down the line as we get into May. And also, one other thing I should mention, the Sword Art Online Holo-Realization game, that's the first original PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita game from the series that isn't localized here from Japan to the United States. That's going to be an original game that's built from the ground up, going to be for pretty much worldwide, from my understanding. Again, it's not based off of a previous release.
Would you say those Sword Art Online games are easy to get into if you haven't watched like all of the anime and stuff?
Well, here's the thing, and I talked about it with Pearl over at Bandai Namco. She was the one who I interviewed in our interview that we have up now on the channel. Basically, a lot of the stuff in the previous Sword Art Online games, you have to be kind of a fan of the anime to really kind of get into it, or at least have some sort of appreciation for what you're seeing. Now, I will say, though, the games have like an offshoot story from the anime. Like, they don't follow the anime or the manga per se. They actually go off in their own direction, especially now with Holo-Realization. Now they're totally on their own thing right now. They have almost no association with the narrative that's in the anime and the manga and the light novels and stuff. But if you've never really watched Sword Art Online, the anime, or if you've never read any of the manga or any of the light novels and stuff, you could kind of somewhat get into them. just by playing the games themselves. Personally, if you guys want any sort of like recommendations or the nitty-gritty specifically about both the previous 2 games that were on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita, check out my reviews of both Hollow Fragment and Lost Song that are on the Coalition right now. That if you're interested in that, because again, I have those 2 reviews up there. I would say that Lost Song is the better game. Obviously, it was the second game of the 2, but I think the direction they're going with Hollow Realization, you're going to want to jump into this one because I think this is the one that plays a lot better than the previous 2 games.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So should I get into PAX East now?
Oh yeah, let's talk about the show that I missed due to airport issues.
We missed you out there, Rich. You would have had a whole good time.
Oh yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
so basically, here's what went down at PAX East. So there was a lot of games at PAX East, so a variety of different stuff. Not everything was there that I got to play. I'll admit that right now. And the main thing is because of, like we were talking about when I first got back, there was a lot of people there at PAX East. It's a public show. This is the one for consumers. This is the one for people, the common gamer and stuff, to go and enjoy all these games and stuff. And that's cool, but it makes our job ridiculously harder in more ways than one. So you had games there like Lawbreakers, you had Paragon, you had the Uncharted 4 multiplayer demo, the beta, you had PlayStation VR that was there, which was crazy. You had all types of stuff. You had Gears of War 4 for Microsoft. Nintendo had a strong showing there as well. There was a lot of interesting stuff. Now, the games that I did get to play, that I could kind of give like offshoot impressions of, having actually gotten hands-on time with them. PlayStation VR stuff. I think PlayStation VR is pretty cool. I got to play a game called Thumper, which is like a rhythm-based game that's very, very trippy. Okay, it's done by an indie studio. Again, I don't have it right in front of me right now, but basically, you play as like this scarab, and you could play the game without PlayStation VR, but with PlayStation VR, you could look around your entire surroundings and stuff, and it has like these really trippy, colorful, dreamlike visuals that are like all over the place. But you have to keep you have to press different buttons and kind of like move the scarab from side to side based off this rhythm or this beat that you're hearing. And in the process of that, like you have like these little boss fights and stuff. One of them that I actually played was like this giant head that looked like Andross's head from like Star Fox, but it was like this really trippy visual that was like all over the place. Looked really weird at first, but it was pretty cool in the way that it was designed. And it looked awesome in PlayStation VR. That was the first time I really got hands-on time with it, and I thought it was dope. But besides that, okay, I also got a chance to go over to Capcom's booth. Capcom had 2 games on display. They had both Umbrella Corps, which is the Resident Evil spin-off game, which is like a competitive shooter / esports type of game. And they also had Monster Hunter Generations from the Nintendo 3DS. That was the first time that they were really giving the public hands-on time with this game. I got a chance to play that twice. So Umbrella Corps is okay. I got a chance to play that game with 2 friends of mine, so we were on the same team going up against another team of 3. We lost, but we still had fun playing. It was really high-paced, fast-paced. It was really interesting. It doesn't really have any sort of connections to the narrative of the main canonical Resident Evil games, but there are going to be nods to past Resident Evil games like, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 6, 5. For all the different games, you're going to find little nods in the maps and maybe some enemies throughout when you're actually playing Umbrella Corps, which I thought was cool. For Monster Hunter, again, if you like the Monster Hunter series, it's very similar to before, like pretty much almost all the other games. There are differences in this one that they actually have now new monsters, like always, new designs for some of the wyverns and such, which look pretty cool. But also, they have these new styles based off the different weapon classes you choose. So no longer are you just choosing a different type of weapon that, you get an assortment of moves. You actually have a choice of, I think it's 3 to 4 different styles that allow you a different assortment of abilities and actual actions when you're on a map, just besides your actual, your weapon class. So in my case, when I was playing the game both times that I had a hammer, and I was able to actually choose a style that allowed me to get a very powerful special move that was like a super move, very kind of like attuned to Street Fighter, where I would wind up the hammer and have this really devastating attack. But at the same time, I needed to build up a meter in order to use it over time. So every time that I would hit the beast that we were hunting, it would build up the meter slowly and stuff. And there was other actions and stuff depending on what weapon class that you choose. So they're really trying to vary us up. Add some more variety to the different weapon classes in the game, so you're not just having 2 gunners or 2 hammer guys or 2 great sword guys that are almost exactly the same. Now everybody has their own little flavor and flair to it, and different abilities to help contribute to the hunt as a whole. That was pretty cool. Now, let me talk about Nintendo stuff for a bit. There was a couple games at Nintendo that I got to play. I obviously got to play Star Fox Zero, which had came out that same weekend. Star Fox Zero is already out. You're going to be seeing our review of Star Fox Zero very soon on thecoalition.com, as well as also Star Fox Guard. Nintendo sent us the game in order to review and such. Besides that, I actually got a chance to play a little bit of Kirby Planet Robobot. Now, I like Kirby. I don't know about you guys. I think Kirby is kind of cool. It's a cool, neat little platformer that Nintendo has. I think it's interesting that now they're kind of implementing this kind of like, ability to kind of pilot a mech, which sounds stupid on paper, but in practice it's actually kind of fun and it's kind of goofy, which is very attuned and very kind of like, works for something like Kirby. Nothing too over the top, nothing too crazy or special just yet as far as like what they've shown or what they've talked about with the game. But I did enjoy the platforming. I did enjoy wielding the mech with Kirby when I was playing Planet Robobot. That was pretty cool. Now, one of the games that I did not get to play, but I actually had a lot of time looking at it, someone playing it, kind of funny enough, and mainly is because the lines were so big during PAX East. I got a chance to check out Tokyo Mirage Sessions Fire Emblem, or FE, whatever you decide to call it. Basically, again, pretty much like what people were expecting. If you guys are fans of Persona or Shin Megami Tensei and you like that aesthetic, maybe you've played Persona 4 Golden on your PlayStation Vita or even Persona 3 on your PSP or on your PlayStation 3. Very, very similar aesthetic, very similar style and flair and music and presentation. Very much Persona in that regard. But where the Fire Emblem stuff comes into play is where you actually have the different personas, quote-unquote, are actually Fire Emblem characters. So Chrom from Fire Emblem Awakening is one of the main kind of like personas that you use as the main character in Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Now, there's all this other stuff involving the whole pop idol and dancing and type of like, concert type of stuff. And there really wasn't a lot of time for people to really explore that when they were playing the demo. But again, it's all about style. It's all about presentation with this game. And I have a feeling it's going to be really, really cool playing that game for like, 20, 30 plus hours, like usually how a normal Persona game is. They're long RPGs, but they're fun RPGs. And this one is going to be no exception to how much fun and interesting times you're going to have while playing it. Now, again, there was other games there, including Metroid Prime Federation Force. I didn't get any sort of hands-on time with it. Again, the lines were ridiculous. A lot of people were kind of down about Metroid Prime Federation Force, but that seems to be like the in thing now. I have to get my hands on time with that game to really kind of pass judgment on it. But from what I saw, it looks like, again, like it was marketed competitive Metroid, or at least Metroid Prime, I should say, without Samus. It's like one of those kind of like arena-based type of games like Team Fortress or something like that, but again, in the Metroid universe. Besides that, went over to PlayStation's booth. Got a chance to play the King of Fighters 14. Now, with me, I'm a King of Fighters fan. I don't know about you, Gary. Gary, are you King of Fighters fan?
I wouldn't say I'm a King of Fighters fan. I have played it previously, but not really extensively.
Whoa.
So, I mean, anybody that's a KOF fan that has played the previous KOF games, you kind of know what to expect here, with the exception of the more recent one, which I think was KOF 13, that had like a 2D art style. This one changes it up to a more 3D 2.5D aesthetic, very similar to Street Fighter 4. Now, here's the difference, though, at least from what I saw. I don't think this game is in that great of shape, to be honest with you, from what I saw and what I played, mainly because I look at it, and it looks vastly inferior to Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, for that matter, as far as like the aesthetic, the way that the characters look and stuff. The way it plays is very fast-paced. It feels very similar to KOF 13, and I would kind of, put it on par with the way that Street Fighter 5 feels with its kind of like 2D gameplay, even though it has a 3DS type of design. But really what kills it for me is that just visually, this does not look up to par the same way that Street Fighter 5 does. There isn't a lot of detail with the characters. They look very, almost kind of like they were taken a little bit and polished up from the PlayStation 2 game called KOF Maximum Impact. If you guys ever had a PlayStation 2 and you played King of Fighters Maximum Impact, you guys will know that was the first 2.5D quote-unquote game for the series. It was the second one after, I think it was Street Fighter EX that did it way back when. But with KOF Maximum Impact, the characters were fleshed out. They looked a lot more cleaner and stuff like that. However, in 2016, that doesn't look good anymore. And that's how, like, I kept getting flashes of that from when I was actually seeing the characters actually, move around on screen and stuff. I did play with about 3 characters. I played with Kyo, I played with Yori, and I played with Andy. And I saw a couple others there, here and there, including Leona and a few other kind of, KOF veterans, or veteran characters, I should say, that are coming back for this game. Hopefully, things change up because from my understanding, it's actually coming out later this year, which it does not sound very good based on what I saw. Hopefully, they work on the game a little bit more, make it a little bit much more polished, especially kind of based on the previous trailers that which they had. But who knows at this point. I also got a chance to play some Uncharted 4, which was pretty fun. They had the multiplayer beta there. It was kind of like an escort-esque type of objective-based game type where you had to kind of escort an idol, bring it from one part of the map to another to score points while tagging and fragging the other players over the course of the entire matchup. That was cool. It felt very good to play that game, very clean. A lot of cool, neat little stuff that they have in the actual multiplayer maps. Cannot wait to play that game when it's finally out. I also got a chance to check out Paragon. I didn't play it. Unfortunately, again, lines were ridiculously huge. It was like a 2-hour wait to play Paragon, which I thought was ridiculous. So Paragon looked cool. I didn't spend a lot of time with it, but from what I saw, again, very similar to kind of games like Smite or any other kind of like arena MOBA type of game that they have. Again, didn't really get to the nitty-gritty of it. I wish I had hands-on time to really kind of understand what this game is, because from my understanding, from what I've been seeing or what people have been talking about it, it's not so much like those games at all, even though there are some light similarities to it. Now, a couple other games I got to check out as well. I got to check out I Am Setsuna from Square Enix. Now, if you're a big RPG fan, I know me and Gary are RPG fans, like ride or die RPG fans.
For sure.
I mean, let me ask you something, Gary. You like Chrono Trigger?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't played it, a lot. That's one of the games I need to go back and play. But, from what I've seen of it, I like it. I like that style of game.
So you're going to like I Am Setsuna, clearly, because even though you never really played a lot of Chrono Trigger and you like that style and the presentation of it, I Am Setsuna is like a next evolution of that type of same gameplay style. It's very, very similar as far as like the way it plays out, the way that you actually go about battles and combat against enemies, moving around in the world, exploring caverns and dungeons and stuff. It's a very Chrono Trigger inspired like game, or inspired like RPG, I should say. However, the actual stylized look of it, I would say, is very akin to like Okami, like that ink brush style, that kind of like Japanese painting-esque type of look to it. Very, very cool. But again, it's all about the gameplay, and I have to say that I really enjoyed it. I played it for about 25 minutes to about 30 minutes, and I played a bunch of battles in there, very similar to to Chrono Trigger. It has an active time battle meter, very back to kind of like older school Final Fantasy games like Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 5, 6, and such. But again, you look at it, it screams Chrono Trigger. And it even has like the combination moves from Chrono Trigger where you can actually combine different arts and different styles from various characters in your party, and actually they could combine attacks in order to do devastating damage to your enemies. But it looks very good. When I actually played a boss...
What system is this?
It's going to be for PlayStation 4. It's called I Am Setsuna. It was released in Japan not too long ago, but it's getting localized here in the States. In Japan, it's just called Setsuna. However, they're changing up the name to I Am Setsuna for this one. Setsuna is an actual character in the game, which is kind of cool. Why not?
I'm already sold.
It's a very cool game. Now, it's coming out in July, from my understanding. It's coming out in July, for what they said. And again, when I was playing the game, I got a chance to do a boss fight, which was against this like turtle in this ice cave. Very cool creature designs as far as like the enemies and stuff. But again, much like in Chrono Trigger or any of the other old school Square Enix RPGs, the enemies have like these various different actions that they do that isn't just the typical kind of cookie cutter attack, use a magic attack, defend type of thing. They actually mix things up a little bit. So there's a lot more intricate strategy that you have to really kind of take into account when taking on certain enemies, especially big enemies like bosses. The one that I actually fought, the turtle, he actually retreated inside his shell for like a couple turns and stuff, and it would say like, oh, the enemy is hiding in its shell and stuff, and then after like a turn or two, unleash this like devastating attack that would hurt my party members depending on where they were placed on the actual map during the course of the battle, or whatever action they were taking. If they were doing a magic attack, they were doing a physical attack, they were defending, etc. It mixes things up a lot, so it's inspired by those old school games, but it's like a next step for them, which I thought was very, very cool. But overall, again, PAX East was very fun, very interesting. Got a chance to go over to the Square Enix booth, see all the games that were there on display. They had Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key on display. They had the Platinum demo for Final Fantasy 15 on display. They had Final Fantasy 14, the new content coming out very soon, on display that if you actually played it and you won, I think as you've defeated like a certain enemy or whatnot, you got a t-shirt there, which was kind of cool. And finally, besides that, okay, or better yet, before I even get to that, I have to mention, we now have our actual interview with the producer of Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key, Hironori, Okayama, live now on the actual Coalition YouTube channel, which, again, we're going to be having a posting on the actual website soon. But we put it up today. Again, it was a very good interview that you guys should check out. It's about 20 or so minutes long, 20, 25 minutes or whatnot, but where we talked a lot about Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key. We really got into detail about the battle system, about the inspiration behind the different gameplays and the mechanics, about Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key, what to expect in the future with updates and stuff. A lot of good stuff there that if you're a hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan, you're going to want to check that out. But finally, let me get to the creme de la creme of PAX East. Now, this was my pick for the best in show of PAX East 2016, okay? Because hands down, as much as I enjoyed all those other games, this is the one that really got me excited to see. Supergiant Games Pyre. Okay, now, did you guys hear anything about this, Gary or Rich? Did you hear anything about this prior to PAX East?
No, I didn't.
I haven't, but I know Supergiant Games.
Exactly, right? Like,
Yeah.
we know Supergiant Games. I love Supergiant Games. They did Bastion, one of my favorite indie games of all time, as well as also Transistor. Now, Pyre, again, very similar in aesthetic and very similar in approach to those two games. Now, what is cool about Pyre is that it still has that same, unique Supergiant look and aesthetic to it, as far as, like, the way that characters are drawn, the art style, like the way that they look, the environments, as well as also the music. You know what I'm talking about, that like country-esque inspired music that's like really chill. Have you guys ever like listened to the soundtrack of Bastion before?
I have, yeah.
So you know that style of music. Very similar in Pyre. Obviously, different types of like tunes and different types of tracks and stuff, but very, very reminiscent of those games. Now, Pyre could be explained in like one main way. It's a combination of RPG, Oregon Trail, and like a competitive sports game. Now, they actually kind of, explain or kind of like blend together all three of those like, characteristics together with like a unique narrative that's like has to do with magic, has to do with trials, has to do with dark forces looming over the horizon and stuff. Very cool, unique stuff in the context of everything that's happening. One part of it is like this Oregon Trail inspired, like, I guess you could say like traveling between the different maps, or like mini game, quote unquote, where you're going from territory to territory, following the story with your companions that are part of like this caravan. There's three main characters that, besides yourself, that you run into. One of them looks like a dog, one of them looks like a thief, and one of them is this girl that's like a huge, like, Amazonian-looking girl with horns on her head that looks like a giant beast. But she's called a demon, but she has like these horns on the side, but she aesthetically looks human. And you learn different stuff about them. You can interact with them. Every time that you go from area to area, you could stop and actually look around the surroundings for like different materials and stuff, help level up your characters, different stats, their ability to move faster, their ability to kind of like open up to you and reveal more information about themselves, to learn about different things around the world. And then there's finally, besides that Oregon Trail and that RPG aspect, then there's the competitive sports aspect to it, which is the meat of the game, which is like super addicting and super fun. Basically, you have three characters that you control, which is the three main characters that are part of your caravan. Yourself as the player, even though you're a character interacting in the story, you're the one that's kind of like removed from the actual action and is commanding and kind of like, guiding your actual companions throughout this entire like, sports-like matchup. Basically, you're in this kind of like arena. And you have to take this sphere, this like magical sphere, and actually chuck it into an opposing team's like pyre, which is like this giant flame on the opposing side of the map. Think of it kind of like a magical, fantastical version of basketball or soccer in some regard. And like you have to constantly try to shoot this orb into their actual pyre or their flame. And every time that you do so, it takes a certain amount of points away from their flame until finally their flame depletes and you actually win the matchup. Inversely of that, the opposing team's trying to do the same thing. Now, there's a variety of different things that you could do to make that happen. You could actually throw the actual sphere into the actual pyre. You could actually carry it over with one of your characters into the pyre to take away even more points away from them. But at the same time, it's like a risk and reward where you won't be able to use a character that you do that with for a whole phase. So basically, until somebody else scores another goal, you have to wait in order to use that character again. So instead of playing with three characters, you're playing with 2 against 3. And it makes things a little bit harder with, again, a risk and reward factor to it. Even though you're taking away more points from them, you're kind of giving up something in return. Highly strategic, highly addictive, very fast-paced. I wanted to keep playing. By the time the demo was done, when I was finished there, it was about a 30-35 minute demo. It was really a lot of fun. I wanted to play more. And I wanted to learn more about the actual worlds that this whole type of game is surrounded by. Again, I really the way that Supergiant has really kind of like given us a taste of like what this game is about, like what this world is about, what this whole kind of like plot is gonna kind of like turn into, or what's gonna happen with it, really intrigued me. And again, the characters intrigued me as well. The character that looks like a dog, I forgot his name at the current moment. I really apologize, but the guy that looks like a dog, he's like this like sly, witty, kind of like you can't tell if like he's like a thief or something, but he has like connections to everybody that for each town that you go to. It's very interesting stuff, and like again, you're gonna be able to kind of like get more information about each of these characters. The more that you interact with them, the more that you play the game. It's really, really cool. Hands down, best in show for me at PAX East 2016.
Oh,
I'd like to make
good.
a quick comment. Yeah, I will say this. Yeah, Supergiant, they always make fantastic games, so I'm definitely looking forward to that game. They believe you told me they said that's coming out in 2017, correct?
It's coming out in 2017. Yeah, there's no specific month for the release date, but they did say it'll be out next year. And I hope to God this game is at E3. If it's not, I'm like, because I want to play more of it because it's so good.
Hey, it should be. Hopefully it is, because yeah, I mean it would definitely get even more attention. Not that they need it, because everybody knows Supergiant games, but yeah, it should be at E3 as well.
Now, when I was playing it, it was on PlayStation 4. Now, I'm hoping this is also on PlayStation Vita, because I hope like they have all their games both on dual release for PS4 and PS Vita, because again, I can imagine just playing that game on PlayStation Vita. It'd be so much fun.
Hey, well, that's a possibility. Yeah, I mean it's absolutely possible. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
But yeah, that was PAX East in a nutshell. There was plenty of other games that we had there, a lot of which we didn't get to play. I know Drinkbox Studios was there with Severed, because Severed had just came out not too long ago. But again, a lot of the lines and stuff all over the place. It was very overcrowded at PAX East this year, I will say. At one point I remember near the Polaris booth where all the indie section was, because again, the indie mega booth was right across from where the Polaris booth was, and as soon as like one of their major content creators got up there, you could not walk around there. There was just too many people, too many fans that were there. It was pretty insane. But overall, very strong PAX East when it came to games, when it came to excitement, and when it came to just interesting stuff on the floor.
Well, hey, I'm personally glad to hear that, because I didn't think PAX East was going to be quite as good this year. I know in the past they've had a couple of things there where you didn't know about it until you got there, and it was pretty surprising. But yeah, unfortunately I missed it. I do plan to go the next time. I know the last time I went, I got to play Evolve, so that tells you just how disappointed I was with last year's PAX.
Yeah, right.
I definitely, glad to hear that the show was great. For those that are listening, if you do have any questions about any games that you've heard JJ talk about, or even questions about games that you want us to plan to check out at E3, please do leave it in the comments section, because we're definitely going to be pretty busy doing a lot of that later this year, in a couple of months rather. So thank you very much for that recap. Yeah, there's quite a bit of. Sounds like it's two excellent events that were definitely worth going to. So glad that everything turned out well for those.
Definitely.
So now we're going to go to our next topic. This is a topic that I believe Mr. Gary A. Swaby will have a lot to talk about. So we received news yesterday, I believe, that the next Battlefield game is expected to be revealed on May 6th. So by my calculations, that is the exact same day that Civil War comes out, which I find interesting that they would decide to have this announcement at that particular time. But with that said, Gary, what are your expectations, and do you think that this series can reinvent itself?
Well, I'm a huge Battlefield fan, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they're going to do next. The big rumor is that it's going to focus on World War I, which would be interesting because that was more of a slow-paced kind of, battle scenario, I think, and you had less powerful weapons and stuff like that. And a lot of the Battlefield games have been focused on like modern combat and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see them take a World War One spin on things and to see how they would adapt that to the style of gameplay that we've come to know from Battlefield. But I have a lot of faith in Dice and the team, so I'm sure whatever they make is going to turn out great. Um, we had obviously Battlefield. What was that? What was the last one? The Cops and Robbers one called again?
Battlefield Hardline.
Battlefield Hardline, yeah.
Yeah, Hardline. Yeah, I guess you could say that wasn't as big a success. I mean, I did like the single player campaign. I like how they structured that, but the gameplay, it wasn't as long lasting as the original Battlefield games were. Like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, those multiplayers could last you like for hours, basically for months. You could play those. Like I could go back and play them now and still have fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. As far as reinventing themselves, I mean, I guess if they do the whole World War One theme, that will be kind of reinventing the flow a little bit. But we got to see if it works though, because I mean, they tried something new with Hardline and it didn't exactly work because I don't think a lot of people remember that game or still play it now. So I'm definitely interested to see the direction they go in.
Yeah, I just want to add that, yeah, I actually reviewed Battlefield Hardline, and I also enjoyed the single-player campaign. I personally thought it was one of the best single-player campaigns that they've had in the Battlefield series, and it's not even part of the series, technically, but that's only because of the format. The format was awesome. Cops and Robbers theme was great. So I thought that was fantastic. So with the new Battlefield, I must admit, the only other Battlefield game that I've enjoyed personally was Battlefield Bad Company. Now, I know that they are not going to go back to that unless, of course, EA reveals that they are working on that also. But with that said, I am willing to give Battlefield a chance. But it all depends on, how that reveal goes down. This upcoming Friday, if the reveal is great and they are able to sell me on it when we actually go to E3, then I'll definitely invest the time into it. But World War One setting, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that quite yet. I mean, I will say it is, I guess you could say it is fresh because with the Call of Duty series, these guys keep going into the future and all this other crap, and it's like, okay, all right, it's a little bit too much of that. So something different is always welcomed. So I mean, I am at least intrigued to see what it is that they try to do. But with that said, definitely going to wait to see how things pan out with the reveal later this week. How about you, Mr. JJ? Any thoughts on Battlefield?
Not really, because again, I didn't really play Hardline like that, but I heard a lot of mixed stuff about it, so I'm just gonna leave it at that.
That's quite all right. And since we're already talking about the first-person shooters, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about the other news that came out this week, which is that the Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remaster is official. I believe that there was an advertisement on a foreign website that advertised that the next Call of Duty game, which hasn't been revealed yet, but apparently is going to be called Call of Duty Infinity Warfare. Supposedly, there is going to be a version, like a package, I believe it's the special edition or limited edition, which will also include a remastered version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's going to have, I believe, all levels of the game. Everything is remastered, new maps, so on and so forth. Now, again, we still have to get more details because Activision has not made an announcement yet. This is just ads, images of the actual box art that have surfaced online. So, Gary, wanted to get your thoughts. Would you be interested in playing Modern Warfare Remastered?
No, I've been there, done that. I have no
Gary's
interest.
good.
Yeah, I have no interest in Call of Duty right now, to be honest. It's like the same formula over and over again, and I'm just kind of sick of it now. I did really enjoy it, a few years back, but it's just like doing the same thing every year. It's like, nah, I'm good now. I'm done. As for in Infinity Warfare, is this game actually going to be about Infinity Ward, like what happened with the team, the bust up with Activision or something?
Yeah, they can't. They cannot do that
Watch
type
the
of stuff.
villains be Vincent Zampella. That'd be hilarious.
Oh,
No.
they cannot do that. That would be a lawsuit waiting to happen. But
They're
I
coming for
mean,
you, Bobby Kotick.
oh yeah, yeah. Well. I mean, we'll see. All I know so far, based on the news, supposed rumors, is that it takes place in space. Um, I'm not really sure how that is related to Infinity.
Oh wow,
Uh,
it's in space?
yeah, it's supposedly supposed to take place in space. I'm not sure any other details of that. Maybe some science fiction type stuff in there, but I have no idea because they haven't revealed any information yet. Um, all I know is that we will obviously we'll hear about it at E3 because that is the time of the year where everybody comes out and lets you know what's coming out, so you can start pre-ordering stuff left and right. So,
So, so basically, what you're telling me is that this game is gonna copy Destiny even more than the last game did.
hey, that's a
If it
possibility.
works, hey, I mean,
No, that's a possibility, and I will say this because after playing Destiny last night, yeah, I enjoyed my little play session last night. Game is still fun. Obviously, there's no additional content. They keep saying there is going to be another update later this year with more stuff, but I think that the game is great. Still not a fan of the story, but yeah, just the gameplay itself is fantastic. Uh,
Destiny is fire, man. I mean, if you're playing Destiny, I might get back into it again too. So,
Oh yeah, I finally have gotten to a level 36. That won't mean anything to people who are already 40, but yeah, I finally have elevated my leveling. So, but yeah, it's fun game. So if Activision does make a decision to do that, I don't have a problem with that. But I will say that if they do that, I can potentially see some cross promotional stuff where they may have some Destiny stuff in there, and then you may find Call of Duty stuff in the next Destiny. You never know how
oh,
if they.
please don't do that.
Oh yeah, they could definitely take that approach because I mean it is Activision. So I mean we don't know any other game that they're releasing this year outside of Call of Duty unless
I'm pretty
there's.
sure we'll hear more about that at E3. Because remember, they're having their own event during the course of E3.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely need to get some information about that event because I know last year I was invited to that event, but I didn't make it there. So definitely, absolutely, we'll have to see what this is all about. But one question I did want to ask very quickly. Well, you don't have anything to say about Call of Duty, correct, Mr. Lugo?
Yeah, I think I'm good because I haven't bought the last couple Call of Duties. I think I'm good.
Okay, so here's my one question. Staying with the line of the remastered, so if there was any game that you would want remastered, or if you made an exception for one game that you wouldn't mind if they remastered, what would that game be?
Does it have to be an Activision? You mean it has to be an Activision game or a Call of Duty game?
Oh no, it could be any game. Doesn't matter what game. Any game.
If I could choose any game, I mean, I would have to say I think I would have to go with BioWare's Jade Empire. I would have to say Jade Empire, just because again, I feel like that game, if done a little bit better, like a couple adjustments or whatnot, it'd be pretty awesome now in the modern day and age, especially with BioWare doing so good with some of their more recent RPGs and stuff. I think that'd be kind of cool to have that.
That's a good one. That's a very good one, actually. I wouldn't have thought of that. How about you, Gary?
Well, I would have said the Final Fantasy 13 series, but I already have it on PC now, so.
No,
But
no, Gary, no.
so I'm actually gonna say Nino Kuni because I didn't get to beat that game and I don't want to go back to PS3 to play it. So I would love if they remastered
Well,
that.
Nino Kuni 2 is coming out soon, so maybe
Yeah,
we'll get lucky.
exactly, yeah. So because that's coming out, I'd love for them to remaster the first one. So
Uh,
hopefully they do that.
I also did not get to really play Ni no Kuni. That was the one game that I wanted to check it out. But at that time, I already had a PlayStation 4, so I said, well, I'm not going backwards. But I'll definitely, if they release it on PlayStation 4, I will absolutely try it out. And I'm very interested in Ni no Kuni too, so definitely. Um, and if I was to answer that question, man, it's very difficult for me to answer that question because I can't really think of one game that I think deserves a remaster. Now that there's backwards compatibility on the Xbox One, and there is some of that through PlayStation Now on PlayStation, I don't really. Most of the games I want to play, like Red Dead Redemption, yeah, I could play that eventually because we already know that it's coming to backwards compatibility. And a few other games they've already remastered. They've remastered Beyond Two Souls, the Heavy Rain, all that stuff was remastered. Although I heard Heavy Rain was horrible remastered. I believe Carl Daniel should show me some footage of it. Hopefully that patch was fixed.
Is that the one with the PlayStation Move stuff or no?
Wait, is it? I don't think so. I'm not sure. The Quantum Dream game, Heavy Rain. They remade.
I played that, but I know there was a version with it that was compatible with PlayStation Move, and then there was one that wasn't.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. That's a very good question. Well, yeah, I have to look into that. But it's hard for me to think about. I have to think about that. I asked you guys that question, but now I have to think about it because I'm not really sure exactly what it is that I would want remastered. I think the Jade Empire was a very good one because that's a series that everybody has been wanting another game, and I don't think that BioWare is going to go down that route, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens.
I was expecting you to say BioShock or Mass Effect.
See, here's the thing: Mass Effect. That makes a lot of sense.
BioShock and Mass Effect. Watch, we're gonna get it.
Yeah. BioShock. I think that is going to happen because the studio they're working on a new BioShock now. But from what I understand, I believe that there is a rumor of a BioShock collection. I have no idea if that's accurate.
That leaked out on a foreign site that I think was on some foreign retailer site that they listed as a BioShock HD collection.
You know what? I'll definitely purchase that again. Maybe. It all depends, because if there's other stuff out at the time that I want to play, then I'm going to say, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and pass on the remaster, then this wouldn't make any kind of sense. It all depends on the timing, because there is some stuff that's going to be coming out later this year I am interested in. But, yeah, Mass Effect also, I definitely expect that at some point, because, for those that want to get into the new trilogy, they have to have something else for them. And you already know Mass Effect is delayed, although I don't believe it's coming out early 2017. I think that's coming out in maybe fall 2017, later in the year. I could be wrong, but I guess we'll find out that and more at the EA conference when we go to E3. So we'll see about that. But just a quick question about that. So let's move on to another topic. We have a few more topics to cover. Now, I had a thought about this, and I wanted to definitely say it. I know there was quite a bit of criticisms about this, so I wanted to address it. So Gears of War 4 beta is the multiplayer beta is currently on Xbox One. I believe it's supposed to end soon if it hasn't ended yet. I haven't been on the Xbox One in a few days, so I'm not sure if that beta is still going on. But the coalition, not us, the other coalition, they announced that the Gears of War 4 Ultimate Edition is going to be coming out later this year, and of course that includes a season pass, which is fine. They had an Ultimate Edition that they released for the Gears, the original Gears game. But here's the concern. They also announced the Collector's Edition, and again, this is not something that is for everybody, obviously, but they announced the Collector's Edition that comes with a statue of Marcus Phoenix's son on a hover bike, I believe. He's on a motorcycle. It also has the season pass, everything that you have in the Ultimate Edition. and it has a couple of different little collectible things. But when I looked at the price, I said, "Oh, so this collector's edition is $250." Um, and
Wow.
again, while this isn't really a surprise because I mean we already know about the Final Fantasy Collector's Edition that is also coming out that was limited, and I believe it's now no longer aren't able to buy that anymore, which is fine. But the season pass is the concern here because the season pass there's not really a lot of details as to what it is. Obviously, you get more maps. Um, but season pass is $40. Game is $60. So yeah, my only thing is after having played the actual beta, I'm not really sold on the game yet. Obviously, the multiplayer I'm definitely not sold on it. It feels like it just is like the regular Gears of War. Now, a person who is a fan of the series will obviously enjoy that because they don't really like things to change too heavily. But I'm not really sure if I like the strategy of them announcing all this stuff so soon without us knowing all that we need to know about the game, or at least enough to really push things over. I would think maybe you want to wait till E3, show off another gameplay trailer, and then talk about this type of stuff. But I have not really been convinced, and I really don't know about it. But I wanted to get your quick thoughts. You could tell me, Gary. I know you played Gears, so would you consider purchasing that collector's edition if you had an Xbox One?
No, I'm not that big a Gears fan, to be real with you. So no, I wouldn't. But I mean, the game seems cool itself. I haven't tried the beta though.
Oh yeah,
Wait, when is this supposed to come out again? It's coming out
that's
this year, right?
that's the other thing. That's the other thing. It comes out on October 7th. Now, there's another game that comes out, I believe, a week before that called Final Fantasy 15. Um,
Oh
I
yeah,
have
I'm good on Gears of War then.
and one other thing that it also is coming out October 7th, and this is a game that I saw a video for it, and I'm absolutely going to get this, and that's Mafia 3. So, I mean, these are three games that we do know so far coming out this fall. Obviously, there will be Call of Duty, Battlefield, but we don't have any of those dates yet. But, I mean, I think that's an interesting decision to put a collector's edition out there for that much money, knowing that people are going to want to buy a whole bunch of other games also. But at the same time, I guess, yeah, if you're a collector, you like spending money, then it won't matter to you. I guess you have enough time between now and October to get up that $250. Um, but yeah, I don't really know. Uh, Anything you want to add, Mr. Lugo?
Honestly, no. I mean, I saw Gears 4 when I was at PAX East, and it looked pretty cool. From people that I've talked to that have played the beta and stuff, they've said that, again, it's more Gears. If you played pretty much all the Gears games up to this point, there's really very minutia stuff that's different as far as like the core gameplay or whatnot. Do I think this is worth like $250 to dive into that? Only if you're a diehard Gears fan. Like someone like me who doesn't play Gears like that as much as like the really hardcore guy, I wouldn't do something like that. I wouldn't dive into that much of an expensive collector's edition because that is a pretty penny for a game.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
I'm looking at it now. The statue does look kind of cool, but nah, it's still not worth it for me personally. I'm not that big a fan.
Yeah.
We'll be
Hey,
playing Final Fantasy 15 around that time. I think me and Gary are good.
Yeah.
well,
So,
hey, listen. I have no doubt about that. I think that's what it is. So, yeah, I just think though, I definitely think that that's a really questionable move to release it at that particular time. Well, I mean, it's fine to release it at that time, but that much money. Hey, I won't be one of the people purchasing it, but I just wanted to mention that because I did have a complaint about that. Hopefully, they will be able to do a better job of selling me on the game. Even if they sell me on the game, no, I will not invest that much money into it because, again, there's a whole bunch of other stuff I'm going to want to play. So we'll see how that goes. So a very quick, the next topic. This is something that you wanted to discuss, Gary, regarding the PlayStation 4. Whoa. Okay, yeah, I don't know what that noise was. regarding the PlayStation 4 sales, I believe there was a report that was released the other day that said that I believe Sony sold 18 million. Don't quote me on that number. I was looking for the confirmation of that. But
Yeah, it was. I think that's what they sold in the sales period for 2015 or something like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. So your question specifically was, can they maintain this level of success? Um, so I would like to answer that question first. I'm going to say hell yes, they will, because, well, here's the thing. I think they can maintain it because you got to think about this. For the last couple of years, they've had a few games, like a few exclusives released here and there. And for the most part, they had like a lot of third-party games that sold extremely well on the system. So now that this is the year where it's going to be like a ton of PlayStation exclusives coming out, like the big game, Uncharted. I think we all know that Uncharted is a console seller. So I think that you're definitely going to see them hit. I'll be surprised if they don't surpass those numbers from now into next year. With that said, though, it is going to be very interesting to see how they handle this PlayStation 4.5, because I don't know when they announce those numbers, whenever they announce the numbers a year from now, or whatever, and they talk about how much they sold within a year. I don't know if they're going to lump in the PlayStation 4K sales with the PlayStation 4.
That's going to be the red herring, to be honest with you.
You think so?
I think that's going to be a big deal because I think it's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way currently now, especially diehard PlayStation fans that have been in it for a while, or even if the people that just recently bought a PlayStation 4. I remember watching other podcasts and other, different types of video casts talking about how they know people that have picked up a PlayStation 4 very recently, and then this announcement comes out, and they feel a little bit shafted because they feel like they're getting the inferior product. Because obviously PlayStation 4.5, or at least the PlayStation 4K or Neo, is going to be I guess you could say, the ultimate PlayStation 4 currently to date when that eventually comes out and stuff. I think that as far as like sales numbers and stuff, if they were smart, and Sony's very smart, smarter than everybody here in this podcast, I think that they would probably, not split those numbers up and probably just lump them as just PlayStation 4 being sold. And I think that's the questions that people are going to be asking afterwards. Well, how many of those were really like PlayStation 4.5, PlayStation Neo? Or if anything, when the Neo comes out, are the sales going to start to dip?
Well, that's a good question. What do you think, Gary?
It's definitely going to be interesting. That's why I can't wait for E3 as well. So I can't wait for the official announcement just to see how people are going to react. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with this whole PlayStation Neo thing, because I think it's definitely a big risk for them, considering that they are doing so well currently. I feel like this it's big enough to kind of change things around. Like, Microsoft actually is at an advantage right now, because like this whole thing could turn around if because they're working on their own thing as well, their own upgrade or whatever. So there's potential for this whole thing to turn around and completely shift at this point. So I think both companies are kind of taking the risk right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what plays out. But for now, Sony's doing great, and I'm sure if the Neo thing goes well, then they're definitely in a great position to maintain this level of success. I mean, there was another report that came out that said the PSN sales for the year or whatever topped the revenue of Nintendo. So I mean, like, that's major, and that's just the PSN sales, like the PSN revenue. So Sony's.
That sounds a little weird, to be honest. Offhand, not knowing anything about it, that sounds a little weird. It just sounds like either somebody's blowing up numbers or there's like more to it.
I don't know if that. I mean, that's what I heard on VG247. So.
Well, allow me to say I'm not sure of all the details pertaining to that, but if that is true, I know I contributed to that because I bought a lot of PlayStation. A lot of games on PSN. so far this year and last year. So that's interesting. Um,
But yeah, I mean, Sony's doing great right now, but you know, we got to see what happens at E3 because they're about to take a huge risk with everything coming up. I mean, PlayStation VR is coming too, and yeah, there's a lot that they're trying to do right now, so things can turn around.
well, you know, I will say this. It is somewhat of a risk, but you know, I can give an example of another company that did something similar. Maybe it wasn't so similar as in both consoles aren't significantly different, but Microsoft did this. They had the Xbox 360 and the Xbox 360 Elite. And I don't
I don't
really
think
know.
that's the same comparison, though. I don't think that's a fair comparison. You know, again, I've
Yeah,
been looking at a lot of different places that have been talking about that same thing and bringing up that same point. I
Yeah.
think that with PlayStation Neo, though, however, this time around, I think it's a little bit much more of a big change compared to the Xbox, Xbox 360, the Xbox 360 Elite, like that. Because with this one, the PlayStation 4K, it's a little bit much more than just, I think it's like from the Elite, it had like some sort of like Wi-Fi thing built into it that the original 360 didn't have. But with PlayStation Neo, this is going to actually impact not only the quality of the games, but it's also a little bit, from my understanding, a little bit much more of a pain in the ass to get some of their developers' games to work very similar, if not the same, on both platforms. At least that's what people have been saying that have been able to talk to actual developers who've been putting games on PlayStation products.
Well, that right there, what you just said, that is the major issue with the new console, because the developers. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people will think, well, it's not really going to be a major difference that they're going to have to, but they have to program these games to run after
And they have to pay. They have to pay to patch stuff, mind you, because remember, every time that something has to go through certification for the PlayStation Network or just PlayStation 4 or any Sony platform for that matter, they have to pay for that. So it's not only going to cost them money, but also they got to troubleshoot all that stuff on both platforms. So they got to do it on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4.5.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
That's
not
double
good.
the work, and that's
and
double the finances they got to put out there.
yeah, and no matter how much they try and dress it up, because they're trying to say that there won't be much difference. It will just be it would just
There's
be
going to be a
it would-
difference. Like,
yeah, no, there's definitely going to be a huge difference between the performance of the games and stuff, and it's gonna split the user base.
and
Oh,
also, keep in mind, we haven't even brought this up. I wonder if this is going to impact online play between the different consoles. Like, let's say two people have the same game. One has a PlayStation 4 and one has a PlayStation 4.5. Because one person running the game's a little bit better on the 4.5, would that directly influence online matches when they're both playing together like that?
Yeah.
Like, these are questions I feel like haven't been answered yet.
Yeah, so they have a lot of explaining to do.
I'm pretty sure that they have to know that there will be people concerned about this, so they definitely will. I think they'll be ready to answer any and every question at E3 if they do announce it. It won't come out like Microsoft came out with the Xbox One, and they emphasize entertainment instead of gaming. No, I think they'll do a better job with the explanation, but we'll have to see, because, I mean, I'm surprised people are angry about this, because, I understand if they just bought something, yeah, you got a right to be angry. But that's interesting. So we'll see how this pans out. But yeah, some good points made, good arguments made. I'll be very interested to see what people say in the comment section about this particular topic. So let's go on to the final topic. And while you guys have already discussed this, I definitely had some thoughts to say about this, but also I had a question that I will ask afterwards. So, of course, you guys already had a react earlier this week. You talked about the news with the NX, which is set to come out in March 2017. And Zelda is also supposed to be launching on that system as well as the Wii U at the same time.
By the way, update. Sorry to interrupt you, Rich. There was an update that just happened on Twitter right now as we were recording this about Zelda NX, and it has to do with that release date. So Nintendo changed the actual date. It no longer says listed on places March 2017. It now just says it's set to 2017.
Uh-oh. Well, is the console still expected in March, or is the
The,
console
the
expected?
console the console's still expected in March 2017. That's still the legit thing that everybody's been getting in the press releases. But as far as Zelda NX or Zelda Wii, we're gonna call it Zelda NX at this point because that's what it is. That's on both platforms. They changed it to 2017.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So let's go ahead and let's address this piece by piece. First and foremost, I think we already knew Zelda wasn't coming out this year. We haven't seen anything from the game. So 2017 sounds about accurate. March, well, now that we have the new information, 2017, no March date, I can respect that a little bit more because then I could say, okay, well, at least they know it's coming out in 2017. They're not giving us a window of time if they're not certain it's actually going to hit that deadline. So that's fine. But regarding their decision to forego, you know, forego any type of E3 announcement, I'm assuming that they will have a direct at E3 that will be talking about this system. And they will may possibly have another event later this year or early next year to talk about the system. With that said, if the system is actually coming out in March 2017, I don't really have a good feeling about this system because I'm looking at how they are planning to strategize this. I would not have announced a system before it was actually announced. I would not have announced a release date before you actually get a chance to know what this system is. But I guess, hey, they just want to let people know that they're working on something. Because to me, when they announce it, when they made that announcement that it's coming out, then that lets me know. Well, if I am a Wii U owner or was thinking of getting a Wii U, I damn sure would not get a Wii U now because I say, well, they have a new system coming out next year. I'll just wait till next year and see what games they're releasing with that system. So, again, if they have a strategy that nobody knows about, then I look forward to seeing what that strategy is. But I personally don't think that it was a good idea to announce anything before we actually know what it is. Um, but with that said, yeah, we'll see what happens. The question that I wanted to pose is, now we already know that, well, first impressions are not when the first impression is everything. You know, we know when the Xbox One came out, they didn't have the good messaging, and as a result, they suffered over the years. They're still trying to recover from that, even though Phil Spencer's doing an excellent job as the one in charge over there. There are a lot of people that still perceive Xbox as bad because of what happened when the Xbox One got announced and how they tried to focus on the messaging of entertainment rather than gaming. So my question was, based upon how the NX is being handled thus far, how do you guys think that? Do you think that the NX is going to last? You know, how long do you think it's going to last? And more so, um, do you think that so far everything is going well as far as how they have handled this news?
To be honest with you, I don't think we could really kind of like judge or really say like if NX is going to last. We have to see the console first. We need to get the official details from them first because we don't know anything spec-wise or hardware-wise or specific-wise about the NX currently at the moment. Now, as far as them handling the situation, or at least being going about they're kind of like divulging of the actual information about NX and stuff. They've kept everybody in the dark pretty damn well. I think that's pretty clear at this point. I think it sucks a little bit for a lot of people that were excited for Zelda Wii U that at this point now, in order to get the more optimal version, more than likely they're going to have to get an NX. And I think now knowing that the actual release window for Zelda Wii U isn't going to be in March, or at least that's the kind of allusion to it. It could be sometime after the launch of the NX for all we know. That's going to suck not having that game as a launch title for Nintendo on the NX. I think that would have been ideal. That would have been perfect. A Legend of Zelda game for a brand new Nintendo console would have been gravy for them. I think that also, hopefully, by the time we actually go to E3 and stuff, because remember, keep in mind, they came out and they said that Zelda Wii U is going to be the only playable game at E3 this year. I really think that we're actually going to see other games there that are not playable, possibly, hopefully, NX titles. It would make sense, or at least them talking about a little bit what are going to be the launch titles, or what is going to be the launch title, I should say, with the NX when the actual system comes out in March and stuff. And mind you, all this on top of the fact that they still have their stuff with DNA, they actually got to talk about. They got to talk about Pokemon Go. They got to talk about now the Fire Emblem and the Animal Crossing mobile games that they kind of revealed during this actual Nintendo press release that went out, having all this information. They got to talk about Pokemon Sun and Moon that's coming out later this year. They have all this stuff they have to really kind of like, talk about and really kind of, clear the air. A lot of stuff. I definitely do agree with you that we're going to get an NX centralized Nintendo Direct sometime after E3, but I also think that maybe they're going to hint a little bit about the NX at E3 despite the console not being there.
No, they could do that. They could definitely do that. I mean, we'll have to see how that goes down. Gary, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like JJ said, it is difficult to say, how long the NX will last without understanding what the console is fully. But I can say this: Nintendo, they can't afford to have another Wii U type of run with NX. Like they need to go in with this console because.
I agree. This is the one. This has to be the one. And I think you're right, Gary, because everything that's happened right now with Nintendo, ever since Kirishima took control and they started announcing the stuff with DNA and all these different things, I think there's a big shift happening within Nintendo, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I do agree with what Gary said, but I don't believe that this is the one. We already have a console that is the one. That is the Xbox One. So, but yeah, for Nintendo, it's pretty damn important that this console needs to deliver. I don't really know if they are working on their relationships with third-party publishers and they are trying to get more games to also be on for the NX. I will hope that is also something they will consider. At the same time, they're doing. I think they're doing okay with at least the games they do have that are exclusive to the system. Because Splatoon was a great game. I had seen nothing but positive things about that game. So everything isn't bad. Obviously, if the sales are not as good, then that's a concern.
You best believe, by the way, that Zelda Wii U, Zelda NX isn't the only port that we're going to see. I have a strong feeling that, remember, there was rumors earlier this year about Super Smash Bros. Getting an NX version that was going to have all the DLC and stuff. I don't think that's going to be the only game that kind of gets quote-unquote ported over.
I believe that. Super Smash Bros., I can see that.
Watch it be that the NX's library is maybe 1, 2, maybe a 3 at the most, legit NX games at launch, and then the rest are all ports of really popular games. So ports of Smash Brothers, obviously Zelda Wii U, Zelda NX. I wouldn't be surprised Splatoon also got another one because Splatoon is very big for Nintendo right now. That's one of their really popular games on the Wii U. So I would definitely expect them at that point to kind of capitalize on that.
And Pokken Tournament as well.
Well, Pokken Tournament was more recent. I don't think Pokken Tournament is as big as some of these other games, though. Even though I love Pokken Tournament, don't get me wrong. When I reviewed it, said nothing but great things about it. But still, I don't think it's that big.
I thought it had a huge community, though.
No, not like that. Not like what you're thinking. Compared to something like Splatoon, something like Smash, definitely not. And the reason why I say that is because obviously they're going to want their big title. They're going to want big titles that everybody that they know that people are going to play on their brand new console outside of whatever else new stuff they're going to put into the table, which I really believe that there's probably going to be those 1 or 2 games on the NX that's really going to entice everybody, especially since they've been so quiet, besides The Legend of Zelda Wii U, which, by the way, I think we should talk about how much faith they're putting into Zelda Wii U right now, or Zelda NX, because, remember, that's the only game playable at E3 this year. So unless they're going to fill up that entire booth area at E3 with all kiosks with Zelda Wii U and stuff, I'm pretty sure they're going to have other games that are non-playable, but they're putting a lot of faith in Zelda Wii U, and we almost know nothing about this game. We don't even have the real title.
Zelda Remastered. I'm not sure. As far as that question is concerned, it absolutely is a lot of faith. let's go back to when the first game was first revealed at I believe it was at a
It was about 3 years
Video Game
ago, I think.
Awards. They showed something at the Video Game Awards though, right?
Exactly.
Not this year, but I think the year before.
Yeah.
And the game looked as though it was very ambitious, like it had some open world type elements, or that they said that it would be somewhat open world. I'm not sure about that but I would think if it's going
They
to take
did
them,
show that. They showed that specific gameplay with Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma. They actually
yeah,
showed that, and they showed even the map. Remember the scope of that when they actually zoomed out and he showed us a little bit of stuff. He showed us the Epona horse riding and all that stuff. They showed that's the one time when they showed the game the most. And remember, from what I gathered or whatnot, that game was supposed to be at E3 last year. They were supposed to show it at E3 last year at the booth and stuff, and they pulled it out at the last minute.
yeah. Well, hey, that was a game that everybody was looking forward to. So I guess they said, well, we need to get this right, so we're not going to rush it out. But with that said, yeah, I mean, you are right. They definitely putting a lot of faith in that title. I guess they must really be convinced that this is the console seller. The only thing is, though, it's coming to Wii U as well. So, yeah, NX title. I mean, I don't know if the NX is going to have, like, besides it being maybe a possibly better optimized version of the game, I don't know what other stuff the NX is going to do for these games yet.
And that's the problem. We don't, because Nintendo hasn't talked about anything with it. I think that ideally, the place for them would have been to kind of like talk about this stuff at E3, but also keep this in mind. And I said this during the React podcast. Their value in E3 is really diminishing because I think that a lot of places, including EA and Activision, as they've already shown, because they're not going to the show like that they don't need E3 to actually really divulge information like that or really reach out to the audience that they want to reach out to. So that's why the NX is not going to be shown at E3 this year. That's why they're probably not going to talk about it at E3 this year, which would suck. Don't get me wrong. When we're out there, it would suck knowing that there's new hardware over the horizon and it's not going to be there when we're out there. But I think it works in their favor to have all eyes on them during one of their Nintendo Directs for their new reveal for their new hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that approach of doing things outside the norm is, yeah, there's a lot of companies that have done that. Sony did that a lot last year. They're going to do it this year. All these different events they were at.
Watch, they're the next one to do it. And I bet you, if it's not Microsoft, it's definitely going to be Sony. Because remember, they got PlayStation Experience. PlayStation Experience got a lot of attention last year. I mean, a lot of attention last year.
Definitely.
Watch them be the next one of the big three that moves out of E3. And when that happens, E3's done.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. Yeah, I think here's the thing. The only reason why E3 is relevant right now, at the current moment, outside of like some of the games that we see there from the third parties and stuff, is because the big three are the ones that make that show relevant. That's the show where they have the huge booths, where they get the huge booths, and they have the biggest reveals from throughout the year, with the exception of a few times within the last year or so, where they come out with their biggest guns, their biggest games, their biggest reveals, their showstoppers, their mic droppers, all this type of stuff. Now, the big exceptions to this over the last year or so have been PlayStation Experience as well as also the Nintendo Directs. Because, let's be real, if we heard an announcement or saw during the Nintendo Direct the cloud reveal for Smash Brothers, that would have been over. Everybody would have lost their damn mind and stuff like that. Okay? My point is, they have much more greater value not spending the money going to shows like that and then have either hosting their own events like PlayStation Experience or hosting their own online digital events where they get the numbers of people on the internet to really tune into their stuff, everybody on the net stuff, and they save so much and they profit out of it so much more. I'm not talking about just money, but mind share specifically. So watch it, that they're the next. Sony is probably, to me anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Sony, to me, is like the next one that would be logically enough to drop out of E3 and to go ham with all their events throughout the rest of the year and PlayStation Experience.
Well, hey,
I kind of disagree with that because I feel like you need it. I feel like you need both. Like, you need E3 because that's that huge stage that everybody is paying attention to for video games specifically, because you don't just have the manufacturers, you have the game publishers, you have the indies, you have everybody in the video game industry at this one event every year, so the world is always going to be watching that.
And you're right about
But
that. Now, here's the
also,
difference, though.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Nintendo Direct and Sony Experience, those sort of things, those are definitely important too, because they allow those companies to control how they present their product to the media and the world. So those are definitely important. And
What you just said right there, what you just said right there is exactly why I disagree with you with that. Because, again, they control the messaging at their own events, but also keep in mind, their competition is not there. Yes, everybody in the video game industry is at E3, much like, everybody in the comics industry is like New York Comic Con or something like that. And again, you can't really compare the two shows. I understand that. But from my point is that their competition, as well as also, they're fighting for mind share with everybody else, including the third parties, they're at E3. But during their own event, like a Sony PlayStation Experience or a Nintendo Direct, all the mind share is on them. That's the reason why. And
that's true, but they also have to train the whole world to watch that specific moment. I mean, obviously all gamers, we're all hip to this, so we know that it's going down. But like when at E3, you've got like news, like your local news channel or something might show something from E3. Like
but that's the thing, Gary. I think that's already happening.
There's different types of press. Different types of press will cover E3 basically. So there's more eyeballs.
With that, what you just said there, I think that's already happening, though. Especially with how successful PlayStation Experience was last year, at the end of last year, I should say. That I feel like it's already in the process of happening.
Yeah,
I feel like it's important to have both at the end of the day, because the E3 is still very important. I mean, it's a trade show at the end of the day. Like, it's an exhibition. You go to the show floor, you get to try things out, play stuff, and I mean, Sony can replicate that kind of experience for themselves. But I mean, when you have a big event where everybody's going to go just to get a taste of gaming overall and not just one company, there's always going to be more eyeballs there and more people you can pitch and sell to there, because there's going to be more people there for different reasons. So I feel like both ways are important.
Yeah, I just would like to throw in a quick thought. I think you both make some valid points, and you both are pretty much on the same page to some degree. I could make a case as to yes, it can happen, because what you said about them training others to basically having other people look at other stuff that they're doing. Well, they did that last year because they wasn't at Gamescom last year. They was at Paris Games Week instead. Microsoft had Gamescom all to themselves. So that can be said two ways. As one, well, that does show that they can have another event at another time, and then of course PlayStation Experience. That's the event they came up with all on their own. So it is possible that they could do that, but then again, I also could say that E3 is even though E3 may not seem like it's that big because a lot of developers are dropping out. I mean, this is, I guess you want to say, the Super Bowl of the gaming industry. That this event in particular is the biggest event every year, next to GDC and the other events that are here and there throughout the year, Gamescom, etc. So I would think that you would want to have some type of presence there, even if it's even with Nintendo. They still show the Nintendo Directs. Now, if they didn't show a Nintendo Direct at all E3 week, then I'll be like, okay, well, obviously they don't care about E3. But even if they aren't there, they make sure that they still have some type of presence, whether it's they have games that you can play on the floor, or they do at least have those Nintendo Directs. So I think that if Sony did drop out of E3, there'd probably be a while before that happens. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I mean,
it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, well,
like, can you imagine the impact if Sony miss an E3 and Microsoft drops some huge megaton?
Well, yeah, that's the point. Yeah, because if that happens, no, as long as Microsoft is a competitor, and it seems logical that everybody needs to be there. But Yeah, you're right. Like I said, there could be arguments for both. I think I'll be very interested to see what the people in the comment section say, because most of them will probably say no, Sony needs to be there. I'll be curious to see if there's someone that disagrees and say no, they can afford to skip E3. But again, that's a very good conversation to have. And to stay back on, to throw in my last little words about the Zelda game, there's no doubt about it, Nintendo is taking a risk to make this one of the main focal points of E3. But with that said, I just got to say this. That better be a hell of a game. It better be a game that as soon as I see it, that's all I'm talking about all E3 weekend.
And you know something? You know something? I think you're catching on to something with that. I think that Nintendo's expecting some sort of reaction from everybody. I think that's why they're putting so much emphasis on this, because a lot of rumors have been coming out over the last couple months about Zelda Wii U, now Zelda NX at this point, that there's a lot of changes going to be done to the core Zelda formula. One of the specific things that is going to get a guttural reaction from a lot of fans that was talked about in some of these rumors is voice acting. Remember in the past, in the Coalition,
you wrote that article.
Yeah, I wrote an article and I did a podcast about it where I was saying that at this point, Zelda games need to have voice acting, because I felt like that's the next logical evolution of that series. I feel like now we're going to start getting stuff like that that's coming. I feel like we're going to get something like that. We're going to get something that challenges the conventions of what a Zelda game has been for a while. Again, because the series is evolving. But also, I think also maybe Zelda itself has had a little bit of a tumultuous development process, because I don't think that, Nintendo would be going all in on this unless they were somewhat confident of, like, as far as, like, how the game is progressing or whatnot. But keep in mind, they've been holding this game back after announcing it for over a couple years now. There's one thing, even today, like with the announcement and stuff about the release date, like they took off March 2017. Now it's just 2017, possibly coming out after the initial NX launch, which to me, and a lot of people, that seems like, okay, why would you do that? Why not kind of commit to it where, you're actually going to have a Zelda game at the launch with your new console? Maybe they don't want that. Maybe they want to have more time to develop the game and such. There's a million questions that pop up after we feel like we get like one answer. And I feel like when we go to E3 this year and like we see Zelda there, we're finally able to play it, we'll get some sort of understanding of what it could actually be. But then we're going to have to worry about what is the NX going to bring to this game, or what is this game going to bring to the NX? How exactly is this experience that we're getting on the Wii U right now, which, by the way, Wii U is kind of like on a time clock right now at this point, okay? And what is the NX going to give this game, or what are we going to experience on the NX that's going to make us want to get the game on the Nintendo NX and not on the Wii U at this point?
You know what, man? You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it, man.
Uh-oh.
This Zelda game is the new Last Guardian.
There are friends that are like, would probably feel the same way.
And even Last Guardian isn't even out yet, so that's a bad thing.
That's the crazy thing. I think Last Guardian is going to come out before this game, which is going to be hilarious.
Last Guardian will be out this year. That's a guarantee.
Last Guardian will be out this year. Yeah.
Well, let's hope so.
No, that's going to be the first thing they announce. The release date, fall 2016. There you go.
Yeah, right.
But you make some very good points about that, about the reaction. I mean, we'll have to see. Yeah, again, the NX. Like I said, we need information on that to know exactly how it's going to enhance the overall experience. And then again, you have a situation where somebody, is this going to be a situation where you get the Wii U version, that's a dumbed down version, and then the NX version is just, that's the superior, best way to experience the game, and that's because they're releasing it simultaneously, so that's why I'm like, I'm a little confused about that. So we'll have to see how everything pans out, but I'm looking forward to hearing some more about it. I think, yes, Nintendo taking a risk focusing on this game, but for their sake, it better pay off. There's no doubt about it. But I will add in this very last thing. Again, what you said today, when they said the game is now 2017, I would not be surprised if they say, well, the system is now 2017 also. Because it wouldn't make sense.
That'll be interesting. That'll be because they already committed to March 2017 now in the press release. Now, obviously, they could change it. But that'll tell you something about the NX. because or again about what's going on with Nintendo currently right now, because it's just weird. There's a lot of stuff they have to talk about at E3. There's a lot of explaining that has to come from Nintendo. Again, they have the NX, they have Zelda Wii U, they have their mobile initiative. We have to talk about 3DS games because again, we got Pokemon coming out later this year. We have games coming out later this year. There's games that I saw at PAX East that are coming out the week or two after E3. What is going on with all these games? Like, what is going on with all this stuff? There is so much to hear what Nintendo has to say about all this stuff, and I hope they have a lot to say.
Yeah. Well, no, sooner rather than later, I would guess.
Let's just hope they don't change the date for the NX, because that would be a really bad look.
Too, mind you, keep in mind they just came out and did a little damage control too about the Wii U. Remember, everybody was upset that they might be stop support for the Wii U at this point at the end of this year. But then they came out. I think it was Kirishima came out and said that they're actually going to support it past 2018. But keep in mind, with the NX coming out, why would anybody buy a Wii U?
Exactly. No, well, that's what I was saying.
There's no reason to get a Wii U at this point, unless it's cheaper.
No, forget that. I would just get the NX, the latest and greatest. No, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think we've covered all bases on this topic as well as every other topic. So I believe that concludes this week's show. Would you guys like to give any shout outs to anybody out there? How about you go first, Mr. Lugo?
Yeah, sure. Just thank you to everybody that's been checking out all the content that we've been putting up on the site, all our reviews, all our previews, all our interviews, our content, all the stuff. Thank you for everybody that supported me when I was out at PAX East, and everybody that supported me when I was out in San Francisco doing all the stuff there and getting all this different types of content. A lot of cool people out there, a lot of cool, encouraging people. Shout out to all of you guys. Again, all the Patreon supporters that have been supporting the site, that have been getting behind us. Really looking forward to seeing all the cool stuff that we bring to you guys. Again, we're already in the process of making our battle plan for E3, so we're getting prepared for a very big E3 as well as a very big middle to end of this year. So it's going to be a lot of cool, interesting stuff. Be on the lookout for some more content over the course of this coming week. Again, I have 2 reviews coming up, and as well as also more reviews later on into May, because there's some stuff I'm embargoed about now that I can't talk about that's coming, as well as also more interview content later this week, including stuff from the Bandai event on One Piece Burning Blood, as well as other stuff that I got planned for down the line. So thank you to everybody that's been checking out all the content. Keep coming back. Keep leaving us comments. Keep hitting us up on Twitter. Keep hitting us up in the comments section of our website, all that jazz, and keep supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Agree with everything you said. How about you, Gary?
Yeah, shouts to all the listeners. Shouts to Ramiz, Eddie, and Carl, and shouts to the Patreon supporters, M. Collins and Gority. Gority, you didn't claim your game, man. What's wrong with you?
Oh, whoa.
But yeah, shouts to all those guys, and shouts to you guys. Shouts to everyone who went to PAX from the coalition. JJ, Tony, Nash, Tatiana, all those people who went to PAX for us. And shouts to the whole team.
Absolutely. And I also want to give a shout out and a thank you to those again. Yeah, excellent job from everybody that went to PAX. JJ, excellent job with all the stuff you did, as well as the Namco Bandai event. So definitely looking forward to seeing you guys at E3. We only get to see each other whenever these events happen. So
like once a year.
Yeah, maybe once or a couple times a year, but this year it's going to be maybe one or 2 times. It all depends. So yeah, looking forward to that. And likewise, we're looking forward to giving all you listeners out there more content. We have a lot of things planned for May. We have a lot of things planned for E3, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for your support. We hope you all have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next week.
Y'all finished or y'all done?